NHL free agency doesn't officially get underway until July the 1st. However, right now, teams and players are allowed to conduct interviews and have meetings to discuss where these players may want to end up signing. In today's video, we're going to discuss a lot of the rumors circulating about some of these players, including Rick Nash, Cam Ward, Jonathan Bernier, Carter Hutton, and more. Coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We're reviewing and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Well, as I mentioned off the top, NHL free agency is not officially in full swing here. On July the 1st, these players that are UFAs are allowed to sign contracts with potentially new teams or their existing ones. But a lot of the rumors are circulating as to where these players may go. A few years back, the NHL implemented some rules allowing teams and players to kind of have an interview period in the days leading up to free agency. So a lot of these teams and players could kind of determine what might be a good fit for them moving forward. So that come July the 1st, they already have a pretty good idea of where things are going to head. So obviously there's a lot of rumors circulating about a lot of players right now. So I wanted to discuss with you today a lot of the top rumors circulating with some of these players. Now let's get started here with John Tavares and the fact that there really isn't much of an update. As we know, it was confirmed that he kind of closed the meetings off to the 6 teams, including the Islanders, and 5 potential new teams where he could go. The 5 teams plus the Islanders ended up being the San Jose Sharks, the Dallas Stars, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Boston Bruins, and of course the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now they've been pretty tight-lipped and there really hasn't been any news leak out of the John Tavares camp as to where his decision is going. At this point in time, we can safely say that all the meetings have taken place. So all the teams have had a chance to pitch their reasons to Tavares why he should sign with them. Now we're just kind of in that waiting period to determine where he's going to go. Now I will say this, it's possible that we may get a decision here before July the 1st, especially if he's opting to stay with the New York Islanders. Now obviously with the Islanders holding his rights right now, he has an option to do an 8-year contract with them, whereas the max term with any of these other teams would be 7 years. To get the 8-year extension though, you have to be still in that final year of your new deal, which for him would expire after Saturday. So on July the 1st, he would only be eligible to sign a 7-year contract even with the New York Islanders. Therefore, if he's going to stay with the Islanders, I would fully expect to get a decision no later than Saturday, possibly sooner. Or we very well may get the news at the very least that he's opting to leave the Islanders, but we may not know which team he's going with. We're not really sure how he's going to go about informing everyone of his decision, if he's going to speak to the teams individually and inform them if they're in or out or how this is going to go here. So this is kind of new, but John Tavares is the type of guy who kind of keeps everything close to the chest and very tight-lipped. There hasn't been anything really leaked out of those meetings. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see what happens here. But it really could be any time between now and Saturday that we find out if he's staying with the Islanders. If we don't get news on where he's signing by July the 1st, and that tells me that more than likely he's going to be leaving the Islanders and going to a new club, as he won't be able to get that 8th year anymore with the Islanders. But I guess we'll wait and see here. But at this point in time, there's really no news to report on outside of the fact that the meetings are done and we're just waiting for John Tavares to make an announcement here with his decision on where he intends to play going forward. Another fairly big name free agent here that had some interesting news come today was on Rick Nash. Obviously, Nash finished the year with the Boston Bruins this past year, played a long time with the New York Rangers, before that with the Columbus Blue Jackets. In the past couple of days, I've reported here that it looked as though the Columbus Blue Jackets had a lot of interest in bringing Rick Nash back home to where he started, and there seemed to be mutual interest from the Nash camp as well to make that happen. But news has surfaced today that Rick Nash is not even guaranteed that he's going to play next year, and that he's going to forego the process of actually making a contract happen here for July the 1st. Now, it doesn't mean for sure that he won't play next year, but basically what he's saying at this point in time that he's not ready to commit to playing next year or with a specific team. So I guess he's kind of telling teams, go ahead and make other decisions here. Assume that I'm not going to be in your plans. And then afterwards, either later in the summer or after the season starts, he may opt to come back. But he's basically at this point kind of weighing out all his options. Obviously, Rick Nash has had some health issues, and that very well could be playing a big role in his decision here. So we'll see. I mean, at the end of his time, while he was in Boston, he did suffer another concussion, and I'm sure that, obviously Rick Nash has made a lot of money. He's got a young family, so there's a lot more than just his on-ice play to take into consideration here, but I'm sure at the same time he'd like to chase down that elusive Stanley Cup that he's yet to be able to accomplish. So time will tell here on Rick Nash, but don't expect any immediate news on the Nash front. More than likely, it looks like as though he's going to take his good old time here, kind of sit things out for a while, and maybe make a decision later in the summer and see where things go. Possibly even sign a contract after the season gets started, midway through the year, and you never know. He may opt not to come back. It's hard to say. Now, we're going to get into some of the free agent goaltenders here in just a moment, but first I want to touch on one of the pending UFAs from the Toronto Maple Leafs, Leo Komarov. It's been reported and speculated that he may be working on a multi-year contract with the New York Rangers. Now, as we all know, it won't come as much of a surprise if any of the big pending UFAs for the Toronto Maple Leafs do not return to Toronto. Obviously, it looks as though they're trying to go after John Tavares, and regardless of the outcome of the Tavares situation, we already kind of speculated that more than likely none of those guys would return. They'd be going in a different direction and kind of taking a different path here. So to see them look for opportunities elsewhere is not a surprise. Leo Komarov might be a good fit with the New York Rangers. Obviously, they're going to be going with a fairly young group. He can be one of the guys that provides a little bit of leadership and veteran presence on that team, so very well may be a good fit. I haven't seen any direct reports indicating exactly what the term or the dollar figures would be, but it looks as though they're having some pretty serious discussions, and Komarov may end up becoming a New York Ranger. Now, on another front here, was reported yesterday that Jack Johnson very well is likely going to be joining the Pittsburgh Penguins. Looks like it's going to be a 5-year contract worth around $3.25 million per season. Now, I was a little bit surprised when I heard this. I wasn't completely shocked that they were going to go after a guy like Johnson. They certainly could use a guy in the back end. At the same time, though, I wasn't sure that he'd be the right fit back there. But, either way, he could certainly serve a purpose as a third pair guy. But at the same time, one thing I found quite surprising was the term. I thought 5 years was a little bit long for a guy of his age and what he's been able to accomplish the past couple of seasons. In an odd twist as well, Ian Cole used to be a defenseman for the Pittsburgh Penguins, ended up getting traded near the deadline, ended up basically taking Johnson's spot in Columbus. And now it looks as though Johnson's going to circle back and go to Pittsburgh and take the role that Ian Cole used to have with the Penguins. Now, as one thing you may or may not be aware of, Jack Johnson does have a long-standing friendship here with Sidney Crosby. Johnson and Crosby attended prep school together back in Minnesota, so these guys have been friends for many, many years. They're very close, so it's not a complete shock here that Pittsburgh would be an attractive option for him. Can't say with any kind of certainty that Crosby was involved in this decision-making or he kind of put in a good word or anything of that nature. I don't know, but I can see Crosby, possibly recommending to the team that they give Johnson a chance. Obviously, not only the fact that they're friends, but Johnson has had a pretty solid career. He's kind of on the decline as of late, but still might have a few good years left in the tank. I don't completely disagree with the signing myself. I think that Johnson would be a good fit with the Penguins. Just a little bit not sure that the term was right. I think they might have committed a little bit too long, but I guess time will tell, and hopefully things work out for Jack Johnson with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now let's jump into some of the free agent goalies here, as a lot of them have rumored to kind of been finding homes here as where they're likely going to sign on July the 1st. It looks as though Cam Ward of the Carolina Hurricanes is likely going to be signing with the Chicago Blackhawks. We've indicated here a few times that the Blackhawks really should look at upgrading the backup goalie position and have a tandem of 1A, 1B with Corey Crawford and Cam Ward. I think would be a pretty solid upgrade myself over Anton Forsberg. If Corey Crawford can be healthy next year and they have Ward there as well, obviously then they'll have a pretty strong goaltending duo. If Crawford for some reason cannot stay healthy and has to miss significant time like he did this past year, having Cam Ward there should give them that security blanket. Obviously, this past season, Cam Ward outperformed Scott Darling in Carolina and looks as though he can still play. I mean, he might not be the goalie he once was, but he can still be a strong backup goalie, and at the same time, is another veteran to add to the club. So I think Cam Ward will be a good fit with the Chicago Blackhawks should that actually happen. But that's what things are looking like. Chicago, Cam Ward appear to be agreeing on a contract here. On another one, the Buffalo Sabres appear to be the front runner to land Carter Hutton, soon to be formerly of the St. Louis Blues by the looks of it. Obviously, as we know, Carter Hutton played a big role with the Blues this past year in his tandem with Jake Allen. There was certainly at times when Allen was a little bit inconsistent, and Hutton got a lot of playing time, proved himself to be quite a strong goaltender as well. Obviously, he's 32 years of age, would probably like an opportunity to be a starting goaltender. I'm sure based on his numbers this past year, you can make the argument that he certainly deserves an opportunity at least to be the starter, and it looks as though that may not come with the St. Louis Blues, so it looks as though he is the front runner to go to the Buffalo Sabres. So I think that realistically should be a pretty good pickup, but at the same time, we've seen a lot of goalies go from the backup role to the starting role and not really do so well, for example, like Scott Darling last year in Carolina. Hopefully, Hutton makes out better in Buffalo than Darling did going to the Carolina Hurricanes to be their starter. He's been a pretty solid backup over the years between his time in Nashville as well as his time with the St. Louis Blues. So Hutton's a pretty solid goalie. We'll see, but I think that should be an upgrade in Buffalo. Obviously, they've decided to let go of Robin Leonard, and he's now a UFA looking for work as well. The other free agent goaltender we're going to touch on today is Jonathan Bernier, formerly of the Colorado Avalanche. Obviously, the writing's been on the wall here that they're not going to be interested in bringing him back. They already have Semyon Varlamov under contract. They signed Pavel Francouz out of the Czech Republic, and then they traded for Philip Grubauer at the draft. So obviously, they don't need a fourth goaltender as well in Bernier. So it looks as though he's going to join Jimmy Howard to be the goaltending tandem in Detroit. So we're going to have a case of the Hawks and the Red Wings both having veteran backup goaltenders on their roster to form a pretty solid goaltending duo. Having a veteran duo in the net for the Red Wings should hopefully kind of make things a little bit more steady back there. The last couple of years, having Peter Mrazek be part of that goaltending tandem has certainly made things fairly inconsistent. Last year, certainly Howard was the better of the two, and hopefully he can have a better backup situation between him and Bernier, playing probably like a 1A, 1B type of role would be my guess. But it looks as though the Red Wings have found their man here. It looks as though Bernier is going to be a member of the Detroit Red Wings. Speaking of the Detroit Red Wings, one last quick note here before we go. They bought out defenseman Xavier Ouellet, and it looks as though he may be getting some interest from the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, that's not a confirmed thing at this point in time, but it looks as though they have had interest in bringing him over. The Canadiens were speculated to be interested in Jack Johnson. Looks as though they're losing out on that one, but Ouellet might be another guy they're looking at as a depth piece on the back end. So time will tell on that one. That one's not as firm as a lot of these other rumors that we've heard, but I did see earlier today that they were expressing interest in Ouellet and were talking to his camp about possibly looking at a contract for July the 1st. So it looks as though the Montreal Canadiens are interested in Xavier Ouellet, so we'll see if they actually work out a deal or not. But they could certainly use some more depth on the back end of their lineup for sure on the D side. I'm not sure that he's really the answer they're looking for. They could probably use more of an upgrade than what he can provide. So again, if you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams. There's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.